Honestly, getting married young because of love and unplanned pregnancies is a huge mistake. So many lives have been messed up by it. Take me, for instance. I studied law and worked part-time as a bartender at a nightclub. My routine? Work nights, drink coffee to stay awake, squeeze in a few hours of sleep, then off to work again. Good alcohol, beautiful waitresses, go-go dancers, and endless flings, just flings after flings. Then, in my third year, I completely and utterly fell for a waitress at our club. She, like me, was juggling school during the day and bartending at night. She was always upbeat, always full of energy, and super driven. Perfect match for me, honestly. Turns out, she was well-read, studying philology, and not at all shy. Before I knew it, we were caught up in a whirlwind romance that quickly led to living together. We both rented our own places after leaving our parents' homes. My dad had passed away, and my mom remarried when I was 14. I didn't get along with my stepdad, so as soon as I could, I moved out and shared an apartment with a friend. Harper's situation wasn't much different. Her family history had its own set of challenges, but let's just say she didn't have an easy time at home either. So, when we decided to live together in our 20s, nobody really objected. In fact, we didn't even tell our parents. We settled into a cheerful, hectic student life, splitting up in the morning for classes, napping in the evening, working together at night, and coffee-fueled mornings. We made it through our exams, though we weren't top of the class, and we didn't starve. Then, about 6 months in, Harper found out she was pregnant. She took the test, confirmed it, and then, with a couple of her work friends, rushed to the doctor to get the final word. Yup, 3 weeks along. I was honestly pretty freaked out. I didn't feel like I was ready for this. Life felt so carefree. But I made a decision. That very evening, when Harper came back from the doctor with the girls, I proposed in front of everyone. And that's how we ended up married. My parents gave me a small amount of money for the wedding, then disappeared back into their own worlds. They did promise to buy baby stuff when the time came. After the wedding, Harper and I lived a quieter life. We avoided noisy parties, stopped drinking as much, and started focusing on our new family. When Harper was 7 months pregnant, she had to quit her job. Then, when Ethan was born, she dropped out of university in her 4th year. I kept going to school and work, but soon realized that even with the one-time help from my parents, a crib, stroller, and a few vests, my salary wasn't enough to cover rent and support my family. Life got tough. I took on extra shifts, but the stress was starting to show. I was flunking exams. At that point, my life was just a blur of work, school, and a crying baby. 6 months in, I was losing it. Harper wasn't doing any better. Being stuck at home with the baby wasn't easy. Her mom couldn't help, and we started fighting more. Harper kept telling me I needed to stay home more with our son, but she also wanted to go back to work. Tensions were rising. Finally, we had a serious talk and decided I needed to find a better paying job. We found an ad for a seasonal summer bartender gig at a nightclub in Sochi. The pay was great. In the blink of an eye, we made a decision: I'm leaving. I quit all my jobs, left Harper and Ethan some money, and flew to another city with a small backpack. The job was exactly what I hoped for. High pay, busy bar, plenty of tips. A week later, I sent some money to Harper, and she used it to pay rent for the next 2 months. I felt a huge sense of relief. We were getting out of this hole. The financial strain was easing, Ethan would grow up, and maybe I could finish my studies. The days went by quickly. Harper would write to me, sometimes we'd have video calls, and I'd get to see my son. I missed them both a lot and couldn't wait to come back home. I was allowed 3 days off work, but honestly, it wasn't enough. Then, one day, Harper texted me that she didn't think I should come home just yet. There were only 2 months left, so why bother with the expenses? I thought about it and agreed. But about a month before I was due to return, Harper started pulling away. Even though I was still sending money, she became distant. I held off on confronting her, thinking I'd surprise her when I got home. I couldn't get her to tell me where she was living or with whom, and when I finally demanded answers, she just brushed me off, saying, "We'll talk when you get here." I was a mess on the flight back, confused and worried. Everything had seemed to be improving, so what had happened? I decided to reach out to Violet, a girl I worked with sometimes. She and Harper had been close, and I needed to know what was going on. "Do you know why Harper left?" I asked her. Violet told me that Harper had been complaining about money, about being bored, and when I started sending larger sums, she still worried about how we'd manage long term. Then Violet spilled the whole story. Apparently, Harper had been in touch with her high school ex, Daniel. She'd broken up with him years ago, but he never really got over her. He'd kept tabs on her life through her mom. Then, after getting into some trouble and landing in prison for 6 years, he was now a third of the way through his sentence. As soon as I left, Daniel contacted Aunt Harper. After a few conversations, Harper confessed to her that life was hard, she had a child, had no money, and I left to work. His aunt called the prison, and Daniel got the message loud and clear. He found Harper on the internet, started a conversation with her, and soon they were chatting like in the good old days. She admitted that she felt nostalgic and even began to share pleasant memories of their past. Daniel sent her money and, of course, Harper was thrilled. She showed it off to her friends, saying he might be in prison, but at least he had the cash to send her. She bought herself a new bag. The messages kept coming, the money kept flowing, and eventually, Daniel confessed his love and promised he'd accept her and her child if she left me. Right then. He promised to keep sending money until his release. Julia, I asked, did she actually go to see him in prison? Yeah, she said after a pause. She did. I didn't need to hear more. I understood everything. I hung up and sat there, stunned, as it all sank in. So, in the end, it became clear, Harper cheated on me with her ex after he was released. I returned to the apartment, but found it empty. I called Harper, and she gave me a new address, just a house number. My son and I will come out to you, she said uncertainly. I arrived, scooped up my son, kissed him, and handed him the toys I'd picked up before the flight. The three of us headed to the playground to distract ourselves and have a calm conversation. Did you contact the nurse? I asked right away. Don't you feel sorry for your son? I asked, Harper's eyes widening in surprise. She tried to cover it up, claiming that she'd gotten the money from her mother. Why don't we just call her and check? I suggested. She fell silent. Look, I can see you really want to wait for him. You have every right to. But I'm filing for divorce. And just so you know, I'll be taking our son with me. What, do you honestly think the court will hand him over to you when they find out you're unemployed, living in rented housing, and relying on a caregiver? I shot back, a bit too harshly. She seemed more interested in the fact that I was filing for divorce than the details about our son's future. We'll see who gets him, she said, her voice dripping with pride. 2 months later, I tried to file for divorce, but they sent us for review. So early one morning, Harper called me. They say, maybe we've done all this for nothing. It was a good family. The difficulties, well, they happen to everyone, she said, sounding almost apologetic. Difficulties are one thing, but you've already gone out with Daniel, I reminded her bluntly. What are you talking about? It's a sin, but my son will be fine, I said, my voice cold. I spoke to my mom and stepdad, and they promised to help. But I was curious, why did she suddenly come back? What's happening? So I called her friend again. She immediately picked up the phone, knowing exactly why I was calling. Well, should I congratulate you on your victory? She asked, laughing. Why did she change her mind so much? Haven't you heard? It's been a month since Daniel dumped her. Back in prison, I asked in surprise. Harper realized that sooner or later Daniel would end up in prison again. That's why she made a scene. I wasn't thrilled, but I wasn't surprised either. Harper made her choice. Call her, ask her to bring the kid over without explaining anything. She didn't argue. She brought him and left. Looks like she thought that would somehow win her back. But let's get this divorce over with. And goodbye.